Good afternoon. I just want to thank everyone for attending our year-end checklist webinar today. We're doing something a little bit different this year, and we have added some more information on bonus checks. So we will be talking more about that. That is something that we have received in years past as feedback. So we will start with the year-end tax checklist, and then we will dive right into bonus checks. So I just want to take some time to highlight some important information from that year-end tax checklist. First and foremost, I want to talk about W-2 processing. W-2s are scheduled to begin processing after your company's last regular payroll cycle of December. However, if you anticipate doing bonus checks, if you have third-party sick pay, non-monetary fringe adjustments you might need for personal use of a company car, S-Corp, or you simply just need a little bit more time to review your payroll for the year, we ask that you request a hold status prior to December 17th. If you do not request a hold status on your account and you post any additional items impacting your payroll after your last regular run, you will have to request corrected W-2s. There will be amendments. It can kind of prolong the process and getting everything to you. There's additional cost. So we highly, highly recommend if any of the, aforementioned items apply to your company, or like I said, you just want that extra time to review, that you do request a hold. So now that we know about the hold process, how do you request a hold? So there are two different types of holds. Both request an email to our tax department at taxes@payrollforconstruction.com. Yet again, important reminder, we have to receive that by December 17th. So when you email, we ask in the subject line that you write hold, your client ID, and your company name. And in the body of the email, re-include that client ID and company name and the reason for the hold. So if you are requesting a hold for a bonus check or, to add S-Corp, if we do not hear from you prior, we will release that hold January 9th. If you are requesting a hold for third-party sick pay, we ask that you put TPS hold in the subject line in addition to your client ID and company name. And then in the body of the email, list the employees that will have third-party sick pay for the year. If we do not, hear from you, that hold request will also be removed January 16th. Now, that hold removal is a little bit later because you probably will not have your year-end statements until around the 15th. So that is why we have extended the hold for the third-party sick pay. I will advise, if you are requesting a standard hold for your bonus checks and you get everything in and done and reviewed before January 9th, please do email us to have that hold removed. That'll speed up when we begin working on your year-end processing and W-2s. So do not hesitate to reach back out and advise that we can remove the hold and begin the year-end process for you. Next, we're going to go over some important dates. This is normally always on the first page of the year-end packet. So just a reminder, next week on Thursday, same time, same place, we are going to be having a pre-recorded third-party sick pay webinar. However, there will be a live Q&A to follow. Some important dates for forms. So if you've been with us before, we have two forms included in that packet. The first one is the W-2 printing service form. That is due November 21st, and that only applies to our clients with local taxes. So I want to take a minute to show you that form here. So there are two options. Yet again, we do ask that this is emailed to taxes at payroll for construction, and in your subject line include local printing. There is a standard W-2 and then a deluxe W-2. You will see there are different pricing options there. Um, Also on that form at the bottom, we do require your company's name, your ID, the person authorizing, and a date. So you might be wondering, what are the differences between the two options? I am a very visual person, so I like to show visuals. So with option one, what you would have on the W-2 for the locality is you would just see many here. But included in the information with the W-2, there would be a W-2 local report. So this would then break down all of the wages and the tax withheld per locality. But yet again, that W-2 is just going to say many, but you will get that additional report. Option number two will actually show the different localities in withholdings on the W-2. So this would all appear on the W-2. You would not receive that local report. So these are your two options. Yet again, you only need to fill out this form if you have local taxes, and we do request that we receive that form by November 21st. December 12th is when we have the mailing of the W-2 forms due. So that yet again is in the year-end packet, which you receive on your weekly files. So you would be able to see that there. Mailing of W-2s, same thing. You will email taxes at payrollforconstruction.com with the subject line W-2 shipping. If we do not receive this form for you, this form is required from all of our clients. If we do not receive this form, we will automatically send your W-2s directly to your employees via USPS at a cost of $1.50 per W-2. So we do require some information here. Yet again, your company name, your client ID, and then what shipping type are you selecting? So option one is that USPS. Just a reminder, there's no tracking here for USPS, and those will go directly to the employees. Option two, maybe you're local. So you are near our offices here in Strongsville, so you're going to come pick up your W-2s. If that is the case, we do request that you provide the person that is authorized to pick up the W-2s and that they bring their photo ID. That is simply, there's a lot of sensitive information on there, so we want to make sure we're only giving it to authorized people within your company. The third option is to have the W-2 sent to your company office via UPS. There is tracking information included with that. I do just want to point out that UPS will not ship to a PO box. So if you are choosing option three, we ask that you include the address you want them shipped to and attention to what person those should, directly go to. If you are one of our clients and you have, some sister companies and you're opting for the UPS option and you would like everything in one pack if possible, we do ask that you complete that information down here. And then yet again, a little bit further down, we do require the name of the authorized person making this decision, signature, and date. Yet again, that is a form that is required by all of our clients. Just another reminder, what we started with in the beginning, December 17th is that date to have all of those hold requests into us. A few other dates I want to talk about there. Any tax payments for 2025 made to the IRS on or after January 5th will be considered late. So we like to make you aware of that. And then the bottom two dates are yet again when those holds would automatically be released if we do not receive a request from you to remove them sooner. So January 9th for the standard hold and January 16th for the third-party sick pay hold. Now that we covered some important dates, we're going to get into some items of the year-end checklist. One I like to go over every year is verifying your employee names, addresses, zip codes, and social security numbers. I cannot stress enough the importance of verifying an address, especially if you are opting us to ship your W-2s directly to your employees via USPS. You also want to check and ensure that you don't have any special characters within the employee record for an address or a name. So a lot of times it is quite common to use a pound sign or a hashtag, however you refer to it, maybe to represent an apartment number. That will trigger an error on our end, and we will need to remove that. So that could delay W-2 processing. So you just want to go make sure you have verified everything looks good and accurate. And those social security numbers too, you get that straightened out as well. That way you don't have to worry about corrected W-2s or amendments. So one way to check the addresses in the software is to actually run a list. So under payroll reports at the very bottom, there is something called employee list. When you click on that, the list type here automatically defaults to profile. You can, however, select labels, and then what this will do is it'll generate like a shipping label for all of your employees here. You could give this out to your employees, ask them to verify that everything is correct. If you wanted to print this on actual labels, that is possible as well. Up here, help current item. It will give you information here about the printing the employee labels and kind of what labels work best for that. So just like to make you aware of that. You could also, create additional lists here to verify your social security numbers as well. So just like to make you aware that this is an option. Returning back to some information on that year-end checklist. We do ask that you check your earn codes to ensure that anything that needs to appear on a W-2 will. So there actually is a separate tab, a W-2 tab for the earn code record. So earn codes are actually under payroll maintenance. So in here, if I was adding an earn code, and I will kind of just type something in here, you will see the W-2 tab there. This is where I can indicate if I have a fringe and where it should appear. So I'm going to change my type here to a non-monetary fringe, which could be used for, S Corp, group term life, personal use of a company car. And then I could come here to see, and make sure that that is going to appear on my W-2. So we do ask that, you kind of check that as well to make sure everything looks good there. Continuing on, miscellaneous deductions, if they should appear on the W-2, just like the earn codes, you want to check and make sure that setup is correct. So we have a couple different plan types for miscellaneous deductions. 401k, HSA, SEP, simple, section 125. All of those different plan types have different tax implications. One thing I do want to point out here, if you have an FSA, it is different than an HSA. So if you are setting up a flexible spending account, you would want to make your plan type section 125. So I am going to go back into the database here, and I'm going to go to payroll maintenance, miscellaneous deductions, and I'm going to bring up my 401k. You will notice down here my plan type. I ensure I have the 401k. I have my limit. You can put in a limit here for the year, and then to report on the W-2. The same holds true if you are doing an employer contribution to report on the W-2 as well. So this is just another way to kind of check those items and make sure you have accurate W-2s. So one way to look at these items is to run a payroll report called the W-2 Coded Items Proofing Report. I simply can enter in the year here and select Report. This is going to give me a list of employees, what deductions they've had, what box they will appear on the W-2, and amounts. So this is a great report to review to help ensure that, we have everything we need to appear on the W-2 and it is set up the way you want. You also today in your handouts have received a PDF that kind of goes over more information for the miscellaneous deductions appearing on the W-2. So this will break things out in a little bit more detail, even remind you of the W-2 coded items proofing report. So this has been included in your handout today for future reference. Next on the list that I like to highlight, because it's very easy to miss, it is just a little checkbox. If you have union employees that have a pension through the union and need it to appear in box 13 of the W-2, you would want to make sure you check this in the deduction fringe master. So this is under payroll maintenance. And from here, you will see there is a retirement plan box here. So I would just want to make sure if I had, say, my pension and I needed it to appear there, that I have this checkbox enabled. Like I said, it's just a small little checkbox. So that is why I like to point that out to everyone there. Just a reminder, yet again, if any fringes need to be entered, they must be submitted for processing to payroll for construction no later than December 31st to avoid late payments of taxes as well as agency penalties and fines. So we just like to give you those important dates yet again. What I'm going to talk about next is related to bonus checks. That is going to be the main part of our webinar today. So I'm just going to highlight a few things about bonus checks before we actually get into the software and I show you how to get those entered. So just a reminder, if bonus checks are being issued and federal and state taxes are not to be withheld, do not disable the tax check boxes on the earn code. Doing so will exclude them from the employee's W-2, and we don't want that. We want the earnings to appear there. So if one of the things we're going to talk about today is if you need to adjust those taxes using a payment group, doing an adjustment through the adjustment genie, there's a lot of ways we can work through that. Do want to caution you, in most cases, local taxes must be withheld. And we're even going to talk about what type of taxes need withheld as we dive a little bit deeper into bonus checks. We also understand that, sometimes you will be processing your bonus checks on an off-cycle date, so not with your standard payroll. To ensure we process that in a timely fashion, we do ask that you notify our processing department via email at P4C admin@payrollforconstruction.com before you send your database. Like I said, we just want to make sure we process it timely and get those taxes paid for you. Sometimes when you do bonuses, you might have some larger dollar amounts, and you could reach limits that you typically don't reach with your regular weekly or biweekly payroll. If you reach these limits, this could require a wire. And I know sometimes there's only, select people that are authorized to go initiate this with the bank. So just so you're not caught off guard, I like to cover what could require you to have to wire your liability funds to us. So the very first thing is federal tax liability. If it exceeds $100,000 for a single check date or combined check dates. So you might submit your regular payroll and then decide, you want to have the very next day be the check date for your bonuses. So your regular payroll is received on, check date Wednesday. You want your bonuses check date Thursday. That would be multiple check dates. So we would be looking at both of those to see if you exceed that $100,000 in federal. The other limit is in regards to direct deposit totals. So if you exceed $75,000, so that's the net pay of the direct deposits within 6 calendar days, that is also going to require a wire. I like to point out this is 6 calendar days, not banking days, business days, calendar days. So just to give you a heads up, these are some things that could apply to you that normally wouldn't happen with just a regular payroll. A little bit earlier, and as mentioned in the year-end checklist, we talk about how you need to tax your bonuses. There are some guidelines you have. So FICA must be withheld, Pennsylvania state taxes must be withheld, and several local taxes, including paid family medical leaves, need to be withheld. The reason behind that is they are flat fixed percentages. So PA state withholding is a flat fixed percent. So we do have a list here of all of those kind of locals and paid leaves that would apply. I would also like to point out that even though the New York MCTMT is an employer tax, we still have to calculate that as well. So what are some tips to try and make entering your bonus checks into the software a little bit more easier? Gathering some information before you even begin to tackle the process in the software can make it much more smoother and time efficient for you. So gathering a list of employees that will be receiving a bonus. Do you have a gross and net amount you would prefer for those? Should miscellaneous deductions be withheld? So for example, are you going to withhold 401k? If you are opting to withhold 401k, do you have a set employee and employer contribution amount? Are you going to have the bonus checks be submitted with your regular payroll same day, or are you going to do an off-cycle date? And some clients actually like to issue a paper check for bonuses. So will these be processed as physical checks, or are you going to go with direct deposits or however your employees typically receive their pay on a weekly basis? So whether you're attempting to enter bonus checks into the software by yourself or, seeking assistance because you have some questions and calling into support, having this information available to begin is, like I said, just going to make it a much simpler process for you. So thus far, we've talked about some key items from the year-end checklist. Yet again, that packet is on the payroll for construction, files website there that you go to get your weekly or biweekly liability reports. That packet includes those forms and has, lists all of those important dates. We began to talk about bonus check requirements, and now we're actually going to get into the software and see how we can enter these. So I am just going to close out of some of the items I previously displayed here. And it's going to bring me to my main menu. Now, depending on your client type, you may or may not have access to the next part of the software I'm going to show you. No worries. If you are a DA client, meaning that you're just utilizing our payroll service and do not have our full accounting package, you would not have access to this, but you simply could log a case for support and they would be more than happy to help you. So from my main menu, Tools, System, Controls. Then I'm going to go down to Payroll. And at the top here, I'm going to go all the way over to the Payment Groups tab. And this is where you will see I have the ability to dictate quite a few things. So I'm going to click on the line that says bonus. My bonus payment group is set to issue a check. I also have enabled it to withhold 401k if applicable. And then down here, you will see it says tax settings for payment group 3. You always want to make sure your payment group number ties out down here for what you're trying to change. So for federal withholding, being I'm doing bonuses, I'm doing a flat 22%. Yet again, if you have PA state withholding, this has to be yes. And as we looked at earlier, that list, most locals will be yes. You might decide you're going to do state tax withholding and you're going to put it as a fixed rate. Or if you are not in PA, you might just say, no, I'm not going to withhold state taxes here. So I like the way my bonus payment group is set up right now. So I'm not going to make any changes here. I am simply going to go take a look at my bonus earn code now. So under payroll maintenance, earn codes, I'm going to pull up the bonus here. And you will notice I have it set as additional because it is a lump sum. And I have all of my taxable checkboxes enabled. So every taxation checkbox I have is enabled here. This does not indicate that the taxes are being withheld. It simply indicates that they are taxable earnings that will appear on a W-2. So I have left the FICA federal, state, local, FUTA, and SUTA. I am going to have 401k accounted for here and a show year to date. So if this looks good, you know, I always advise you can come check out your earn code, create a new one. We can begin entering the time card. So under payroll daily, as always, I would go to my pay period control, enter my pay period start week end date and my transaction date. Once that is set up, I would go to enter time cards. And this is where I can select that bonus payment group. So it will only withhold 401k if applicable. It's not going to withhold, you know, any sort of section 125 or garnishment. We're not going to apply union. Strictly going to do what I set up on that payment group. Now you might come in here every week and maybe you never notice because it automatically defaults to the regular payment group. But I can override that up here at the top of the header section of the time card and select bonus. I can then enter my time card as normal. So I'm going to pick my employee. I am going to put this to an overhead job and a general cost code. I am going to use my bonus earn code and enter my amount. Simply click OK, save your time card as you normally would. I could then run a time card list to make sure I entered everything properly and go and compute payroll as normal. From this computation screen, I don't have any errors, so everything looks good. I'm just going to go to View Pre-Check Register and simply click Report. I can see here the 30,000 is taxable. My FICA flat percent being withheld. That 22% I set up for federal is occurring here, state and local. My payment group also indicated this would be a check. You will notice my net pay is $19,013.72. But I was informed that we want to get this employee's net pay to $25,000. So that means we're going to have to gross up. You will find there are a lot of free gross up calculators online. You can just kind of Google and search. I personally have a little Excel sheet here that I can use to help me come up with a gross up amount. So this is what I will be using today. I do want to point out this particular employee is having Ohio State withholding. That does not have a flat fixed percent like PA. So to get an average for the state percent, all I really did was take what was being withheld here, divided that by 30, and that equated to roughly about 3% being withheld for state taxes. So on my sheet here, it automatically has my FICA here. I'm going to put in my 22% here for federal. As I said, I estimated my state at being 3%. And I know I have a local that is 4%. And then how much, what is my net that I want to gross up? And then this gives me a starting point here. And this is what a standard gross up calculator would do for you online as well. So this is saying to get there, I should start with $39,463.30. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to go back into my time card and I'm going to update those bonus earnings. So I'm going to go into modify mode, pull up my time card here. And then based on my gross up calculation, I'm going to enter what we determined there. I'm going to save those changes. Now, because I made a change to the time card, I am going to need to go and recompute the payroll. And I'm going to go back to my pre-check register. Now, what you will notice here, it still says that 19,000. A little tip and trick here, if you ever want to refresh a report, instead of closing out or going back to criteria, you can just hit Control R and it will update that information for you. Now, as I said, those gross up calculators and worksheets will get you close, but they might not be exact, might have some rounding issues. So you can see right here, currently I'm at $25,009.67. I am oh so close. I could go back and, maybe rework my earnings here, or what I am going to do is I'm actually just going to create an adjustment because I estimated my state taxes being that 3%. I'm just going to remove, I'm just going to adjust this $9.67 in my state taxes. So an easy way to do that is straight from the pre-check register screen, click Create Adjustment. It would show any employees that have computed payroll. So I am just going to simply at the top here, click Select. I'm going to follow kind of the outline down here in blue, makes the steps kind of easy. So I'm going to click Next Paycheck. It's going to take me through a series of screens, some of which I don't need to do anything with. So the very first one is miscellaneous deductions. So I'm going to click next. Union deductions, next. Yet again, following kind of that blue outline here. This is federal taxes. So my FICA, my federal, I'm going to click next again. And you'll notice now I'm at my state. So from here, what I can do is in the adjustment additional row tax column, I could enter $9.67. You'll notice down here at the left, it'll tell me that my net pay has changed. I can continue. I got to my 25,000, click next. This will bring up an adjustment worksheet. So this will show me exactly what I changed here. I could print this if I want to save it. Now, one thing I do want to point out, you can always go back. So if you stay in the screen and you don't click finish, you can always go back. So maybe I didn't want to adjust the state. Maybe I said I want to change federal. It is perfectly okay to come in here and make a federal withholding adjustment. I just want to let you know you cannot change FICA. It is a flat percent. You cannot manipulate the FICAs on these adjustments. Federal is fine, FICA is not. So I do want to caution you there. You know, I could have put my $9.67 here for federal if I wanted to. So going with federal or state are okay in this case, unless you are Pennsylvania. When I click finish here, which is outlined in blue, it's going to ask me if I want to move on. So if I had another employee, I can just go yes. It would either take me to the other employee or bring me to this screen, indicating that my adjustment has been created. I can simply follow the blue down here and go next paycheck. It is going to ask me if I want to compute payroll. So I have this compute payroll button open. I could use that one there. Or I could simply use the compute payroll that would have been prompted there. So I'm going to recompute. I'm going to go back to my pre-check register, hit my Control R, and I am at 25,000 net. So this is a way you can gross up to get to those net pays. This is just kind of one example to show you how you can utilize both a payment group and the adjustments to accomplish what you need to for these bonus checks. I'm going to close out of here. And we're going to take a look at another employee. So maybe I have a different scenario here. I have an employee, he knows he's getting $15,000 bonus and he wants it all to go to his 401k. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to payroll, maintenance, employees, and I'm going to pull up that employee record. I'm going to go into modify mode. I'm going to enter my employee. I'm going to come over to the deductions tab. And normally this employee contributes 3% to their 401k. Well, I don't want to forget what they normally contribute. So I'm just going to over here in the description, I'm just going to make myself a little note, 3%. I'm going to back this out of here momentarily, and on the fixed amount, I'm going to put 15. Okay. And I'm going to save my changes for right now. I'm going to go back to payroll daily, and I can, what you want to take into account with your 401k is the taxes that it will be lowering. So yet again, this is where I can do a gross up here to get things to where I want them. So if I go back to my my gross up calculator here. I know that I do not need to worry about federal, state might not be applicable. That does vary. State and local do vary. I'm going to keep my local here, and my gross up here is going to be 15,000, and it's going to give me this gross up amount here. So it's telling me $16,977.93. So I can go back here, and I'm going to enter a time card. Now that this is, yet again, where I could use a bonus group and make some changes there. So I will enter my employee, put in my job. I'm doing this as a bonus, and I said $16,977.93. I'm going to click OK there. I'm going to compute. I could look at a time card list yet again, make sure everything is okay there. I could be utilizing a different bonus group here, and you might get something like this. Oh no, my check amount is less than 0. So let's go take a look. What does that show us? So let me pull up my employee here. I'm off by $9.91. So that was my state. My state is being accounted for here. So this is something you might find. The gross up isn't perfect. You might be unsure if the system's going to take into account the state or the local. So yet again, I could go back here and I can change this. If I'm using a payment group, maybe I'm not having the state come out. So that would be null and void. So like I said, the gross up calculators are great. They give you a good starting point, but sometimes you still might just have to manipulate things just a little bit more. I'm going to close out of here. I could continue to work on this and go fix this. I do want to point out a different alternative, but I do want to notify you of some of the differences. So the first two examples we've shown are going to, job cost for you. They're going to generate a pay stub, whether it be a $0 pay stub because all the money is going into the 401k, or it be creating, a net amount there. This way is a little bit different. I'm going to, purge the data I currently have in here before I show you the next way. So if I have an employee, like my pension employee, that is going to net a $0 paycheck, the whole $15,000 is going to pension. If I do not care about job costing and having that pay stub, I could simply go enter a history adjustment. Just a reminder yet again, it's not going to job costs and it's not going to generate a pay stub. So under payroll daily, I'm going to go to the adjustment genie. The system will automatically set it for adjust prior payroll history. I'm just going to enter the current year. I'm going to select my employee, and then I'm going to enable the earnings and miscellaneous deduction checkbox here. Yet again, going to follow the blue. I will click OK. It automatically has my employee listed here. Simply click Next Employee. I need to give some earnings here, so I'm going to simply right-click, Add a line. I'm going to select my bonus earn code here. And this is where I could kind of start with that gross up amount. So I might go, okay, here's what I got. simply follow the blue, my 401k here. So what I'm going to do different is on the deduction amount column where it says adjustment, I'm going to put in that 15,000. You will notice as soon as I do that, those earnings, a lot of those earnings went away, but I'm still showing that I would have net pay at this point. As soon as I click next, the FICA has already been accounted for. You know, a 401k does not reduce FICA. So the system has already taken that into account. It does reduce federal, so I don't need to worry about that. Simply click next. The system is going to warn me that, you know, if I wanted to adjust federal, it is manual, but 401k, we don't need to worry about that. You will see it automatically here is picking up my local. So in this instance, it's picking up the local here. It will tell me that it will not adjust state automatically. So this is where I could potentially come here and put in a, you know, an estimated guess on my state for a percentage here, and have it calculate. So I might say, oh, this is, you know, 3%, you know, whatever it may be here. Yet again, I just want to remind you, different states, different locals have different rules for how that affects a 401k. So I'm not going to do anything with the state in this example. I'm going to simply click next. It's going to show you the adjustment you made with the bonus earnings, with the 401k, with the taxes. Simply click finish. Yes, my adjustment has been created. I'm following the blue here again. I'm going to compute. What I want to point out here, when you are doing a history adjustment, the computation screen is different. So all of my miscellaneous deductions, so those pay period letters, cycles, are all gone. Payroll adjustment, positive radio button is enabled, and history adjustment only. So you always want to make sure you have a proper computation screen. I'm going to click report. It's going to show me one adjustment. From here, I can click my view pre-check register, and I can see that I'm netting to 0. Now, yet again here, I did not enter a job anywhere. There's no place to enter a job in the adjustment genie, so there is no job costing, and I'm not going to get a stub. What I would do in this case then, because it is an adjustment, I would have to go post it. So I would then go, if everything looked great, post adjustments, select a week end date, post date. In this instance, you might choose for them to be, you know, say both 12/31, you're posting to the end of the year and off cycle. One thing I do want to caution, as soon as you click report here, it is going to post that adjustment. So it is unlike other items in the software where you click report, you get to review it, and then there's a floppy little disk to officially post. Adjustments do not work that way. They are special and unique in that way, that as soon as I click report, the adjustment would be posted and I would have an audit number. So a couple different ways to do that. By all means, if you ever have any questions or anything like that, the support department here is more than happy to help. You know, you could log in, you know, to your software, create a case, give us a call, send an email. You know, we are happy to help. Just want to give you a little bit more information. So hopefully you found today's webinar, you know, useful and maybe picked up a thing or two. Just a reminder, next week we will have our pre-recorded third-party sick pay webinar with a live Q&A to follow. So if you haven't signed up yet and would like to attend, please do so. That being said, I appreciate everyone's time today. I know it is a busy time of year. So I thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.